Hello everybody, this is Hammer Striker here. Got a couple of high quality budget firearms, no frills. I've got the SCCY CPX-2 Gen 3 and I've got the Smith Wesson SD9 2.0. Please don't forget to check out our website. Go to our affiliates page. You'll find discount codes for things like Mantis Axe and Core belts. Link to that cool little bore light that we use for lighting up the barrels. Use those links. It will often save you money, never will cost you any additional money, and helps the channel. And please consider supporting the channel on Player, formerly Utreon, where we can do some types of videos that are no longer allowed on YouTube. And as I mentioned, these are both high quality pistols. They're inexpensive, so they're definitely in the budget territory. Limited on the number of frills, but they work. And this one, the CPX-2 and its variants, has been around for a very long time, and they've proven to be reliable. The one they came out with, the DVG, had some issues, but the CPX series has been reliable. All the ones that I've messed with have just worked. There's not much going on. You got rear serrations. It does have a 2-slot Picatinny rail. No optics ready capability. There is a variant of this that comes with a Crimson Trace optic on it, but it's more expensive, and the Crimson Trace optic that's on it isn't the greatest in my mind. So with these, I would stick with basically the basic gun. It is a hammer-fired gun, and it's a double action. So if I go to the take-up of it, it's kind of a long pull, stacks at the end, and then it breaks. And of course, consistent with a double action, the reset is all the way out. A little bit of take-up to get back on. And then again, it's a smooth pull, but it does stack near the end, and it's slightly heavy. It's not a bad trigger, but it's not a great trigger either. Of course, being a double action, it does have restrike capability. If the round doesn't go off the first time, you just give it another pull and it will hopefully go off the second time. So you pull the trigger, click, no bang, just pull the trigger again, hopefully you get a bang the second time around. By the way, if you see things on my fingers, my hands are clean, but I was doing some plumbing, so purple primer and Oatly blue kind of will stain your hands, so you'll see it on me a little bit. One of the things that the Gen 3 upgraded is this back strap. This had kind of a ribbed on the prior generation. It had kind of these ribs on it, kind of like a kitchen spatula or something like that. And it was designed to absorb recoil. But really all it did do is put a tramp stamp on your hand. So you'd fire it and you'd end up with these lines on your hand. They got rid of that and they just went to this. The gun's recoil is manageable despite the size of it. It weighs 15 ounces, so it's not really heavy, but it does manage the recoil well for something this size. And speaking of size, it's 6 inches from front to back. It's 5.26 inches tall with the flush magazine in it. And they do have a pinky extender base plate that you can get. And it's 1.1 inches thick. So it's overall kind of in the pocket pistol territory. It's probably at the kind of the high end of the pocket pistol territory. And if I have a firing grip on it in my hand, it's got a 2.5 finger grip. It's enough to get a hold of it, and it does stay put, it stays in your hand, and it has 3-dot sights, which are really easy to see, but they're not fancy. They're not night sights or anything, no adjustable. You can, of course, drift them, and the front sight is replaceable. There's a screw underneath, so you can swap them out. But again, budget gun, basic sights, but they work. The only thing I found is that it was a little difficult to shoot this well because the trigger was so long. By the time you get to the end of it with that stacking at the end, your hand is having a tendency to tense up and it tends to pull you off the target. You can do it, but it's not easy. And of course, this gun does not have any ambi features. All the controls are set up for a right-handed shooter. So let's talk about the Smith. So the Smith, the SD9 has been around for a very long time. This is an upgraded version of it, and they've upgraded a few things, one of those being the trigger. It has nice serrations front and rear, so it's starting to have a few of the features you might get on a slightly more expensive gun. 2-slot Picatinny rail. It is a full 3-finger grip. This is a bigger gun. So it's 7.2 front to back, and with the flush mag in it, 5.5 tall, and a little thicker, 1.29 inches wide. This is kind of just outside the pocket pistol territory. For most people, this would be in the inside the waistband category. And this is a striker gun. So one of the things you might think of is, well, why are you comparing these two? Well, you might be cross-shopping them. Number one, these are high quality in the budget territory. A lot of guns in the budget territory, you're getting what you pay for. So you get two high-quality guns. You might be cross-shopping these because you're kind of on that balance. Do I want a more capacity? This has a 10-round magazine. It's not really labeled, but it's a 10-round magazine, and that's the largest magazine I'm aware that's available for it. So do you want pocket? I can put this in my pocket. Or do you want a little more capacity? This has a 16-round magazine, and it is labeled, if I can get it to where you can see it. So the magazines are one of the differences, but of course for that extra capacity you're paying for it in a little bit more size. Some people like hammer guns, some people like the double strike capability. Striker guns tend to have better triggers, and I'm about to demonstrate that. So let me get rid of the magazine. Minimal take up, a little bit of creep through the wall, and then I hit the wall and a nice break. Reset is most of the way out. This would be all the way out, so I'm going to pull it again. There's the reset, and more take up to get back on the wall, and then a nice break. This trigger is a good trigger. It's not an awesome trigger. It's not a spectacular trigger. But it's a good trigger. It's an improvement over the original generation. It does have the inertial safety. One of the things that I failed to mention on the Sky, it does have drop safeties. This particular one does not have a thumb safety, but they do have a variant that's available with a thumb safety. This has the typical striker fired safety, so it has the internal drop safety piston, and it has the inertial toggle on the trigger. This trigger is heavy enough, it's not going to pull itself if you drop it. This trigger could, but the inertial toggle eliminates that possibility. The sights on this are nice 3-dot sights, very similar to the CPX. Again, nothing fancy, no adjustable, they don't have night sights or any of that. But just like the Sky, they are replaceable so that you could put the sights of your choice on it. One thing I like on this is it's got this serrations on the top. It's kind of anti-glare. So if you're out in the sun, the top of your gun isn't going to shine in your face. This kind of cuts the glare. And it does have a witness hole for determining whether or not there is a round in the chamber. So there's more features on this, front serrations and things like that. No replaceable back straps on either one of these. This one has a bit more texture to it. When I'm holding on to this, I feel it. This kind of texture here at the back, I can feel it in my hand. It's kind of grabbing into my hand. It's not abrasive. If you hold on to it, it stays put, so that's not a problem. But it doesn't feel quite as comfortable just grabbing a hold of this. And of course, there are no ambi features on this one as well. Everything is set up for a right-handed shooter. So you are definitely getting good quality. Both of these are reliable guns. They've both been around for a very long time in some variation of them. And the samples that are sitting here in my hand have been reliable for us. The Smith & Wesson is a little easier to shoot well. The trigger does a better job of helping you do your job. Couple of things too. One thing I'll mention, the Smith is a little more portly at 22.7 ounces. So it's definitely heavier than the Sky, even though it really doesn't feel it just doing this with them because of the balance on them. This one's a little bit better balanced than the Sky. So it doesn't, you don't feel the weight of it, but it's there. And it handled recoil quite well. One thing that's interesting about the Sky, if you like colorful guns, the Sky comes in an assortment of colors, all sorts of different grip colors and things like that, and they always have. So you can get the colors of your choice. As of the making of this video, the Smith & Wesson is available in any color you want as long as it's black. Just this is the color it comes in, and that's that. I don't see them likely to add color choices to this. They don't do it on most of their guns. They do have a few they do it with, and definitely with this being meant to be in the budget territory, it's probably what you see is what you get. Disassembly is, and I'm not actually going to take them apart. I don't want to turn this into an hour-long meeting, or video. This comes apart similar to a Glock and several others. Pull the trigger, pull the slide back a hair, pull down on these little tabs, and it comes apart. This one's a little more clunky. You have to line this pin up, and then actually on this one you can't push it out from the other side. You have to catch it and pull it out like this. It's doable once you learn how to do it. It can be done without tools. The very first time you've done it, it may not want to come out, but once you've done it a time or two, it does pretty well. Both are easy to maintain, but this is more of a conventional process than you're used to. So I keep mentioning that these are budget guns. So what do they cost when you're looking for them? So MSRP recently was reduced on the Skies, and it's $239, so $240 is the MSRP on the Skies. You may see them floating around that, and you may actually see them a little higher than that because it's a recent change, so the market may not have adjusted yet. Smith & Wesson, they're a little more proud of this. It has an MSRP of $350, but they're selling under that. I've seen them sell around the $300 territory. So the Smith & Wesson is not significantly more expensive. So then, oh, and one other thing, they both come with one magazine. I'm not really a fan of lowering the price by reducing the number of magazines. Most people need at least two. It's like selling a car with only one key fob, but I can sell it to you cheaper. Yeah, but now you're going to have to turn around and try to find another key fob because everybody needs two. That's not my favorite setup to do, but overall, they are doing what they're intended to do for the price. Both are easy to use. Again, the Smith is a little easier to shoot well than the Sky, basically due to the trigger. So in the end, is one of these better than the other? Should I get one or the other? Well, if you're looking for the smallest or pocket size pistol, then the Sky would be the one you would look at. But if you're going to carry inside the waistband, I'd spend a little bit more, and I would get the Smith & Wesson. It's got a better trigger, even though it's not a stellar, spectacular trigger, it's a good trigger, and it's just overall going to be a better choice. It's a little easier to shoot well and everything else. So this would be if you really need it to be smaller. Otherwise, I would go with the Smith & Wesson. But whichever one you pick, it's probably going to serve you well. Beyond that, if you like our videos, please give us a thumbs up, share, subscribe, click that bell up there to be notified if you do. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Player, Rumble. We're pretty much everywhere. And thank you.